Sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and could even keep you from the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. Welcome to the No BS Sales School podcast. I'm your host, Walker McKay. Today, I want to talk to you about something that's very near and dear to my heart. And it's something that's made a huge difference in my career. And the cool thing is it can be free and free for you. And the topic is one that's, controversial. I don't know if it's controversial, but a lot of people don't like it. It's accountability. What does accountability mean? Accountability means having the discipline to do what you said you were going to do. Having the discipline to do what you said you were going to do. I believe the only person that can actually hold you accountable is you. However, we can lie to ourselves. You can. I think we're the easiest person to lie to. 20 years ago, when I got in the sales training business, I was, trying to figure it all out, had no idea, jumped from commercial real estate to this crazy business. And I was trying to learn new processes, new everything. How do I sell this intangible that really nobody wants and most people think they don't need it? How do I do that? And gotta be honest with you, it's a high failure business. A lot of people don't make it. And I would go to these conferences, these Sandler conferences 3 times a year where I met other people who do what I do or doing what I was doing. And I met these 2 other guys, Matt Nettleton and Kevin Hallinan. Matt was from Indianapolis, Kevin's from Boston. And we'd started about the same time. We're all very committed to being successful, but we were kind of looking around for what the hell do we do? And somebody made a suggestion. Why didn't we form an accountability group where the 3 of us would get together once a week and talk and create a format where we could hold each other accountable for what we said we were going to do? Now, a couple of rules here with accountability. We wanted to have a partner and not a policeman. A partner, not a policeman. Here's what that means. We need people who will encourage, right? And who will give suggestions. We don't need somebody to threaten us or to have a nya thing. Really, accountability, if you have it, the person that benefits is you and your family and your company. But if you have partners around you where you say your goals out loud, and then you say what you're going to do towards those goals every week, for example, then you go out and do it and you report results back. You have this support group. And here's what I know, right? Not every week are you going to be 100%. Some weeks, sometimes it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you're going to have the shit kicked out of you. Things are going to go haywire, bananas, crap, right? Other things are going to come up. It does happen. However, can't let that happen every week. And what those need to be is aberrations and not the norm. So let's talk about accountability for what? I would say you begin with what are the behaviors that you're committed to do to reach your goal? What are the behaviors you're committed to do to reach your goal? Behaviors. What does that mean, Walker? Behaviors are the things that you can control that you're going to do to go grow your business. For example, number of phone calls you make, number of meetings that you say you're going to set. It could be number of networking events you go to where when you leave, you have 2 or more people that you can call about business in the next 48 hours. Right? So maybe we used to meet on Friday mornings, Fridays at 1:30. Every Friday, we did it for 2 years. There was no excuses to miss. I called in from vacation several times when I was in this group. And you report, was a victory I had? And the victory may be, I made the calls I said I was going to make. I went to the networking events and I got these people that I called. Didn't set any appointments. Right? But all I can control is what I do. Maybe the victory is I did my behavior and I also closed 2 deals worth X amount of money. Second thing you share is a lesson. Here's a lesson that I learned, right? Somewhere where I let myself down, missed something, right? Maybe a lesson that I learned was I'm trying to go too fast, right? Or I realized there was an excuse I've been making about what's going on in my world, and I need to take ownership for that. And the third thing you share is, what are you going to do the following week? How many calls are you going to make? How many meetings are you going to set? How many referrals are you going to ask for? Right? Those are things we can control. What you'll find is if you get a group of people who all want to be better, who are all growing and want to grow more, and it's the old iron sharpens iron thing. It really does matter. Here's some rules for this accountability group. You need to have more than 2 people and less than 4. More than 2, less than 4. Well, why do you say that? 2 people, once again, can let themselves off the hook pretty easily. Or if one person didn't pull in their weight, the whole thing falls apart. 3 people, there's always a third person there to keep things in order, right? If one person doesn't show up, usually the second one will. So you can do that. And the threat that we had, and it was never spoken, I was always afraid that if I didn't show up, if I didn't do my part, if I didn't do what I said I was going to do, they might kick me out of the group. Now, that was never spoken, but that's something I didn't want to do. I didn't want to be kicked out of the group. And it's funny, every single time at the end, after I would share victories and lessons and what I was going to do the next week, and then Kevin would share lessons and victories and what he's going to do next week, and Matt would do the same, we always made the comment. I'd make the comment, guys, I kind of feel like I'm the laggard here. I've learned so much more from y'all than y'all could possibly have learned from me. But it's wild because each time all 3 of us said the same thing. It's the power of 3. Key is finding those people who looking for accountability, looking to grow, want to be better, and they're trusting and ready to commit to something like this. When I say commitment, right, I keep using these words like discipline and commitment. And people say, oh, I don't have any discipline. Bullshit, you do have discipline. You're disciplined to do exactly what you're doing right now. Chances are you brush your teeth for exactly the same number of seconds every single morning. Chances are when you take a shower, you use exactly the same motions to wash your body every single time. You're disciplined that when you come in the office, you probably have exactly the same steps that you do every single day, right? Are you willing to notice that? And what will you change, right? What can you change? Now, it's not easy. It never is. That's why you need help. Again, look for a group of people who can be your partners, not policemen. Help each other raise up. Spend the first week sharing goals. What do you want to have happen? Not just, I want to do $1 million, but why it matters to you. What is it you're trying to accomplish with that? And how pissed off will you be if it doesn't happen? And honestly, that last part, that's the most important part. You've heard me talk about this before. Your why is probably the strongest thing that you have going for you. You need to figure out why you need to do the hard shit. Why does it matter? When I started my business, I was telling somebody the story this morning. When I started my business 10 years ago, well, about 6 months into starting my business, we damn near went broke. We'd sold our house. I'd gone from high income to 0 income and was starting to build a business, and I was just lost. And so my first why was I need to be able to make the rent payment every month. I got to get that done. I got to make the rent payment. I got to have enough money for food. I got to send my kids to school. Right? That was my why. And I got really quick feedback if that wasn't happening, right? The basic minimums. And I had to get that done. I couldn't let my family down. And the next why was I want to pay my taxes with the money I've earned in the same year. That's a huge thing. For those of you working on 1099 or starting your own business, paying your damn taxes in the same year that you make them is huge. Now I'm working down to the same quarter. Ideally, someday I'll get to the same month. But I needed those people. I needed people around me who could hold me accountable for doing the things I said I was going to do. It would have been so easy to curl up into a ball. Would have been so easy to say, this is never going to work. I'm a loser. This is never going to happen. But I had people around me who were counting on me and other people that I counted on to challenge me, to push me, to remind me why I was doing these things. And I'm so glad I did. So glad I did. Now, since that time, since 20 years ago and 15 years ago, I've had other people hold me accountable for things. Some of them were coaches that I paid. Believe it or not, I've had, I bet I've spent over $150,000 on coaches in the last 6 or 7 years. Really? Why the hell would you do that? Well, because I believe that I need somebody outside of me, outside of my business, whose job it is to challenge me on why I think the way I do. I am typically guilty of thinking too small. I need somebody to challenge me, to show me there can be much bigger. You can do bigger and better. What are the things that are super important to you? What would happen if you had people holding you accountable for overachieving, for doing more than you think you can do? And because they believed in you and they held you accountable for the behaviors you said you needed, that they supported you and you could learn from each other. What would happen to you if you really committed to that and you committed to meeting on a weekly basis, every single week? We did it for 30 minutes. That was all. 30 minutes. Had to be enough. We'd get together and you knew every Friday, this call's coming up. You better get your shit done. Who does that for you? Who helps you with that? Who are two people around you of similar mindsets? Don't have to be in the same business, but similar mindsets, similar goals, similar values that want to be better just like you do. Imagine if you surrounded yourself with people like that and you asked each other to hold you accountable. It can make miracles happen. I'm here to promise that. I'm Walker McKay with No BS Sales. Go find people to help you hold yourself accountable. Get the discipline that's necessary to be wildly successful. It happens. It can happen for you. Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. If you're struggling to close deals, then I want to invite you to take my free mini course where you'll learn the 7 most expensive sales mistakes that will cost you time, money, and credibility. So be sure to click the link in the show notes or go to www.7salesmistakes.com. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast.